All right, folks, I'm Logan Alec. I'm a CPA, and this is my stimulus update for Thursday, December 24th. Happy Christmas Eve. Tomorrow's Christmas. The day after is the unemployment cliff. The end of the year is the housing cliff. There will be no stimulus checks arriving next week, and the government will shut down on Tuesday without Trump's signature on the government funding omnibus or another continuing resolution. So, yes, 2020 is going out with a bang. And in a surprise to absolutely no one, Republicans just this morning said no to Trump/Nancy Pelosi's demand for $2,000 stimulus checks. Like I said yesterday, hats off to Nancy Pelosi because she has played Republicans like a fiddle here. Trump gave her this golden opportunity on a silver platter to look like a stimulus hero while making congressional Republicans look like stimulus Grinches. And she took that opportunity and ran with it. I mean, did Trump really think that congressional Republicans are going to say yes to $2,000 stimulus checks after pushing skinny for months? Of course they're going to say no to $2,000 checks. They're the freaking GOP. And so what's the headline that everybody's seeing today? GOP blocks House Democrats' attempt to pass $2,000 stimulus checks. So what are the details here? Well, as discussed yesterday, Nancy Pelosi and Democrats attempted to get unanimous consent. House Majority Leader Steny Hoyer offered a standalone bill for $2,000 stimulus checks from the House floor for unanimous consent. We discussed what that means yesterday. We haven't seen this bill. We don't know who they, are saying would be eligible, but the thing you need to know is that Republicans blocked it, the request for unanimous consent, just like Nancy Pelosi knew they would. Like we said yesterday, she knew she wasn't going to get unanimous consent on this, right? Either Kevin McCarthy said yes and at least one Republican objected, or Kevin McCarthy said no altogether. It turned out to be the latter, but it doesn't really matter because either way, Republicans look like the stimulus bad guys here. Of course, Republicans are saying that Pelosi is not acting in good faith here, that it's a bluff. Okay, maybe that's true. Pelosi did stonewall standalone bills for the better part of a year. But even if that's true, they failed to call her on it. They still had a bona fide opportunity to give the people $2,000 stimulus checks, and they didn't. They blocked it. Of course, hardcore Republicans are going to say Pelosi has been bluffing on this issue, while hardcore party line Democrats are going to say the opposite. But the undecided voter in Georgia, who's struggling right now and doesn't really follow politics that closely, what are they going to think? They're going to read this headline today, skim the article, and say, ugh, congressional Republicans suck. I'm not voting to keep Perdue and Loeffler in there. Even though this thing was blocked in the House, but come on, Senate Republicans and House Republicans are more or less cut from the same cloth. We just talk about Senate Republicans more because, well, they have more power right now than House Republicans do because Republicans control the Senate, but they do not control the House. And now Pelosi can issue yet another statement. This one's saying, this is just from this morning, and my honest opinion here is that she had this pre-written. I would guess she had this written in some form the night that Trump made his statement. Pelosi said, today on Christmas Eve morning, House Republicans cruelly deprived the American people of the $2,000 that the president agreed to support. If the president is serious about the $2,000 direct payments, he must call on House Republicans to end their obstruction. House and Senate Democrats have repeatedly fought for bigger checks for the American people, which House and Senate Republicans have repeatedly rejected. First, during our negotiations, when they said that they would not go above $600, and now with this act of callousness on the floor. On Monday, I will bring the House back to session where we will hold a recorded vote on our standalone bill to increase economic impact payments to $2,000. To vote against this bill is to deny the financial hardship that families face and to deny them the relief they need. Hopefully by then, the president will have already signed the bipartisan and bicameral legislation to keep government open and to deliver coronavirus relief. So that's what's next. As Nancy Pelosi roasts the Republicans here, she didn't get unanimous consent today, and she knew the whole time that she wouldn't. So on Monday, she's going to put $2,000 stimulus checks, standalone bill for $2,000 stimulus checks on the House floor for a vote. Will it pass in the Democrat-controlled House? Maybe. Question is, if it does, will McConnell put this thing on the Senate floor? And again, it's a lose-lose for him. If he puts this thing on the Senate floor, everything he said about targeted stimulus goes right out the window, right? Because giving $2,000 stimulus checks to Americans is obviously not targeted. And if he doesn't put it on the floor, he looks like a stimulus Grinch. Nancy Pelosi looks like stimulus Santa. Interesting here that Pelosi ends her statement by saying hopefully by Monday, Trump will have signed the combined stimulus and government funding omnibus that Congress passed on Monday. Senator Roy Blunt this morning, who is part of Senate Republican leadership, told a reporter today that he doesn't think the Senate would bring up a $2,000 stimulus check bill. No surprises there. And if they did, he doesn't think it would get 60 votes for cloture. Now, on the other hand, we know that McConnell reportedly became more open to $600 stimulus checks because he felt it would help Republicans' chances in Georgia. Will he feel the same about $2,000 stimulus checks and in so doing abandon all his targeted stimulus principles and rhetoric? I would be completely shocked if he did. Now, Senator Blunt also said that he thinks that Trump should just sign the bill that Congress passed on Monday and give up on his latest push to change things up. He also said he has no idea what Trump plans to do. Does anybody, really? Now, in fairness here, Democrats did block a move by Republicans this morning as well. Republicans tried to get unanimous consent today on re-examining the foreign aid portions of the government funding omnibus. Kevin McCarthy released a statement yesterday saying House Democrats appear to be suffering from selective hearing, meaning, yeah, they heard Trump say $2,000 stimulus checks, but didn't hear his criticism about all the foreign aid we're sending other countries, which we've done every year, by the way, including throughout Trump's presidency. And you can make the same criticism of Republicans as well, right? You could say they're having selective hearing too with the $2,000 stimulus checks. McCarthy continues, they have conveniently ignored the concerns expressed by the president and shared by our constituents that we ought to re-examine how our tax dollars are spent overseas while so many of our neighbors at home are struggling to make ends meet. Thus, Republicans will offer a unanimous consent request to revisit the state and foreign operations title of the omnibus so that we can fully address the concerns at hand. So today, Republicans tried to get unanimous consent on re-examining the foreign spending under the guise of, hey, we want to put less money overseas and take it right back here for the American people. Democrats blocked it. But what's more catchy, folks? Being the gal pushing for $2,000 stimulus checks or being the guy pushing to re-examine the state and foreign operations title of the omnibus, right? So House Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy, though, is kind of backing Trump here, at least on the foreign aid. We haven't heard as much from Mitch McConnell. In fact, Roy Blunt, whom I told you about earlier, he also told this reporter this morning that he doesn't think it's a good idea to reopen those foreign aid provisions, unlike McCarthy. Okay, so that could be an indication of where McConnell's head is at as well. We do know that as Trump has now vetoed the Defense Authorization Act, McConnell is calling back the Senate next week to overturn Trump's veto, at least from the Senate perspective. Will he be willing to do the same if Trump vetoes the stimulus/omnibus bill when it reaches his desk? Maybe. McConnell doesn't need Trump at this point. McConnell will become the most powerful Republican in Washington on January 20th. He doesn't need Trump anymore. It becomes more interesting, though, if Trump employs the pocket veto here. It's usually a 10-day thing. But because the bill hasn't gone to Trump yet, there will be less than 10 days between the time that Trump receives the bill and Congress adjourns on January 3rd. This means Trump could just not actively veto this thing, but just refuse to sign it, pocket veto, and this would force Congress, the new Congress that will convene on January 3rd, to take it up again if that's what they want to do at that time. But that's where we're at here, folks. On Democrats' standalone $2,000 stimulus check bill, they tried to get unanimous consent today for it in the House. Top House Republican Kevin McCarthy did not approve it, and so Pelosi and Hoyer will now have a full floor vote on it on Monday. It could very well pass the House. Will it pass the Senate? Will McConnell even put it up in the Senate? That's an entirely different story. And McConnell has pushed skinny, skinny, skinny. Why would he go for a $2,000 stimulus check now? Will Georgia sway him? Is that enough? I don't know. All right, everybody, that is my stimulus update for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.